serious. It's fun.
Joining us again via Zoom chat all the way from Canada is Kennedy Hall. He is with the Fatima Center. We're very grateful to have you back on the program. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me back.
I got to tell you, Kennedy, reading your tweets lately depresses me. Okay.
It depresses me to tweet them sometimes. That's
I think I shed a tear. I felt like I needed to give you a hug the other day. I was reading your tweet.
I appreciate it, but don't get too close because you might give me the virus, though, right?
That's true. It would be awkward, to be honest. But I was reading your tweet or your story or whatever about you going to Niagara Falls. A place that I've been to a few times. Beautiful place, by the way. One of the gorgeous, awe-inspiring places on planet Earth. And you're looking across the gorge there, and you see America on the other side. And, you know, we've decided we're moving on. No matter what the headlines say or who says what in Washington, you know, we just want our life back. And so we're moving on. And then you're like, but in Canada, it's still desolate and gloomy.
It was even closer than in the States because if you've ever been on the boat there for the Maid of the Mist, it's like, I think that's kind of like shared international water. So the boat was like 100 meters from Canadian soil.
Yeah.
And it was packed, absolutely packed. And there's actually a Canadian flag on that boat too. So I'm seeing a boat with a Canadian flag and an American flag, only Americans on. I was there filming stuff for the Fatima Center. And I just thought, you know, Niagara Falls is kind of a kitschy, it's kind of like a tiny little Vegas. There's some problems there, but it's a kitschy little casino town. Mm-hmm. And there's just boards over a lot of restaurants. I mean, some of them will survive, but a lot of them are closing down.
Yeah.
And across the water is a vibrant civilization. It's just, it's strange.
It is strange. But that's been the coronavirus pandemic for the most part. It's just strange and odd how people have behaved or how people have reacted to it. In certain parts of the world, some parts are better than others, and it's just weird and odd for the most part from a common sense perspective. So why don't you update us? What is the current status in Canada when it comes to the pandemic?
Well, put it this way. All of Canada is insane. All of Canada is more locked down than Michigan or California. Okay,
wow.
So
That's saying something.
Gavin Newsom and Gretchen Whitmer, or whatever her name is, she looks sane compared to our leaders. So that's saying a lot. But Ontario is the worst. Ontario and Quebec. But all Quebec, those Frenchmen, they got that spirit of revolution. So they have, in some ways, stricter orders, but they disobey them like crazy. So Ontario is the worst. Right now, I can't buy socks for my children at a store. I can't buy soothers for my babies at a store unless I can. Unless it's in the pharmacy section of a grocery store. But I can't go to Walmart and get it. I can't buy clothing. So I've been trying to get some new suit jackets. You can't because you can't go into a tailor. You can't go to a hairdresser. Ladies can't get manicures. You can't go to a gym. You can't sit in a restaurant. You can't go to mass technically with more than 10 people, although there may or may not be unconfirmed masses happening Irish mass rock style that I can neither confirm nor deny. Let's put it that. You cannot play sports. You can play in a park. You can play golf because that's distance by definition. Right. That's so apparently we're going to open again, sort of in some way. There's no path to opening in Ontario all the way. The third step of our 3-step plan is really just get us to the point where we'll have minimal restrictions, but there's actually no plan for them to ever drop the thing entirely according to their own plans, and they won't say why. Right now, 73% of Ontario has had the first shot of the medication, let's call it. And they said we had to get to 60 and we start opening, but we're at almost 75. And they said, sorry, key health indicators. So we're just where we are. And Ontario is largely on board, most people. And I've realized a huge difference between America and Canada as to why. Our largest broadcaster is a state broadcaster. Mm-hmm. The CBC it gets the biggest numbers every night for news. And all the other broadcasters, they get major subsidies as part of this Canadian something coalition for broadcasting. There's virtually no independent media in Canada. So say what you will about CNN, Fox News, whatever, they're different and they offer different stories. So in order to make money, they actually intentionally disagree with each other so they can compete. Whereas here, there's not a single voice of dissension in media beyond very polite dissension, except for independent stuff, but like Rebel Media and stuff like that, which is good, but 99% of people don't watch it. So if you were to watch the Canadian media, we called our local member of parliament, like our congressman sort of thing. And we said, hey, have you heard about Florida and South Dakota and sanity in another country? And they said, no, people are dropping like flies in America.
Wow.
I'm like,
wow.
I talk to my friends in various states every day, and they seem fine. And they have no idea. It's a North Korean style bubble of control in the media, but without the severity, and the politicians, I think, are drunk.
What prevents you from coming to the United States? I mean, we're in an open border policy now under this current administration. I mean, anybody can just walk across our borders. Why don't you just come on down and hang out with us?
Well, actually, I do speak Spanish, so I said, why don't you fly to Mexico and then come over that way? But it's really hard to get a visa for. Actually, this is the thing: if you are illegal or some sort of refugee or have $150,000, it's easy to get into America. But for everybody else, it's really difficult. So, obviously, if I was a doctor or something, there's certain visas and whatever. But it's really tough. I've been looking into it a lot, and it's tough. So, talking to various people about stuff, but it takes a lot of months, maybe a couple of years. I mean, a lot of lawyer stuff. So, just kind of praying to see what will happen. And the reality is too is there are major differences in cost of living. America is much more affordable. But there are certain considerations to take in place when you have a family and stuff. So we're just trying to find the best option. And, I just released some videos actually at Fatima Center about Canada, the last couple, if you go to the Kennedy Report at Fatima Center YouTube. And Canada is going to go in one of three directions. It's going to go full Communist Party of China puppet state, which we basically are. It's going to go either that far, and we'll be refugees. I have a doctor friend who's a doctor. Doctor friend who's a doctor. He's at what's the picture doctor? Looks at images. That's one of the things you can do in Canada and stay with your Catholic conscience because you don't have to do anything immoral.
Wow.
And so he is, worried about the vaccine and all that sort of stuff. And he said, there's rumbling amongst pro-life doctors that they might have to start looking for refugee status as far as being a doctor in Canada. It might get, if it goes that far and gets to that point, then people like myself will probably be able to qualify for refugee status, religious persecution, to be honest. Or what I think is going to happen is we're just going to continue on this slow bleed that we're on. Canada, even though we're supposed to be humble and friendly, we are, but we're very holier than thou about America. That's just one of these ugly realities that Canadians don't like to admit. So when you
not
talk
to mention
you
did invade us that one time.
We did 1812, but you know what? That we were technically not Canada until 1867. So we'll blame that on the British.
The whole
okay? The British are always the
1867
problem.
thing. You're going to use that as your excuse. Okay.
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly,
Why do you think we bought Alaska? Just to surround the Canadians. I'm just saying.
That's right. Well, you needed to get maple syrup somewhere, but so we're probably just going to be in this for. I mean, the emergency powers here in Ontario are extended till December. December.
Wow.
It doesn't mean they're going. I mean, it doesn't mean they're going to continue the things, but it means they have the right to continue the things. But I'll tell you one thing though, Canadians are non-confrontational. So I haven't worn a mask in a store more than like 3 times, even though it's you're supposed to. Because the one thing about Canada is that no laws have any teeth to them because no one wants to have any confrontation.
I was going to ask how, it's one thing to say, well, this is what we're doing, you got to do it. But it's another to say, well, how much is it being enforced? Because even in America, there were, many agencies across our country at the state level or local levels that they just refused. They were not going to, harass people over masks or whatnot. It's just, it's a waste of resources.
It's been enforced in the big things you see on the news, like those Protestant pastors getting arrested and stuff.
Yeah.
But even there, they've been in court and all the charges have been dropped and stuff. Canada is basically a nation run by lawyers. Canada was a corporation. That's how it started, the Hudson Bay Corporation. I mean, it's literally, it was a British colonial outpost so Canada's basically a country that is run by lawyers. We don't really have a constitution. We're a parliamentary monarchy kind of gone wrong. So there are lots of things going on in the courts right now. I don't have any faith in the system, but I have, let's say, a reserved trust in people wanting to protect their pocketbooks. So there are various cases going on right now, and I've been following them. And the government looks really dumb, legally speaking. There was a case in Alberta where basically the health officials almost are almost going to be charged with criminal action now because they just didn't follow the laws. Because, the thing about Canada is it's a nation run by bureaucrats. They're very incompetent for the most part. So you ask them to go do this sort of North Korean style takeover. Well, in North Korea, they're severe and they believe in the cause, but here they're just overpaid bureaucrats and can't keep their ducks in a row. So it's very strange right now. So if you watch for the next 3 or 4 months, I believe you're going to start seeing some major legal fallout here. And as soon as that happens, that will be when things start to go back to the old normal, if they do. If not, if things get worse, then they'll probably have a lot of Canadian Christians on refugee status in America.
So the faithful in Canada, are they ready to fight back against this marching communism that's happening in Canada? Are they kind of just reserved to be like, well, things aren't that bad. There's no concentration camps. I'm eating still. What's kind of the feel of the sense of the faithful there?
It depends. I want to say this as charitably as possible about the bishops, but there's a real lack of courage amongst the bishops here, and I know that's the case everywhere. But in America, you got that revolutionary spirit, that 1776 attitude a little bit. We don't have that at all here. So it's a combination of blind obedience. It's a combination of bishops that should probably step it up a little bit more, and they're super tied to the government financially. So the traditional Catholics that are a little bit more rugged, let's say, are doing the private stuff and the farm masses and all that sort of thing, the mass rock kind of stuff. And then the Protestants, who a lot of them, they had their churches planted by American pastors and things like that. So they got that John MacArthur sort of zeal. And that's kind of the only people fighting back. But in the diocesan sense, there's no way that any pastors or bishops will do anything about it. Unfortunately, it hasn't happened yet. And our dispensation for Mass in the diocese I live in, I go into Mass in a different diocese, but it's extended until September. So they haven't had Sunday obligations since March of 2020.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we don't either, actually, in Houston.
Okay.
They reinstated the mass. They made capacity at 100%, got rid of the mask orders, but never lifted the dispensation. So very strange. So it's really a toss-up between dioceses in America.
Right.
Kennedy Hall is our guest. He is with the Fatima Center. We have a few minutes left here, about 5 minutes or so, maybe 4 minutes, to talk about what's going on in Canada. I want to transition to this story out of LifeSite News and get your comment on it, Kennedy. The headline goes, Canadian bill to ban sex-selective abortion defeated by pro-abortion politicians. And this is why this is interesting to me. I mean, this is a common thing in America to see pro-abortion politicians work so hard against pro-life bills, but we still have a lot of pro-life movement in America. What is the pro-life situation in Canada? This would suggest that you're also not any better off than we are.
No, I was actually at the March for Life about 3 weeks ago with John Henry Weston, actually, from LifeSite. He lives up somewhere in Ontario. And there's a pro-life movement amongst the sort of remnant Christian sort of thing here in Canada, but there's not a single, there's no pro-life MPs anymore in the real sense.
Wow.
You're not allowed. One of the only guys who got kicked out of the party last year for being a conservative by the conservative leader. It doesn't really exist. Most Canadians are not, I'm sure on average, most Canadians are not really pro-abortion, but most of them are just apathetic towards it. The pro-life march, the March for Life, usually, all things considered, would get a decent turnout. But it's nothing like the States. There's no conversation about, there's no Abby Johnson. There's nothing like that, really. It's part of healthcare. It's funded by the taxpayer.
But you would think that sex selective in particular, that's a pretty, that particular element to the abortion issue, I think is even more nefarious because you are picking and choosing based on the gender of the baby. This is the stuff we hear that happens in India, for crying out loud.
I know.
It seems more crazy to me that even the liberals would support this.
Canadian liberals are just communists all the way through. There's no classical liberals left in Canadian liberalism. They're just communists. So they lie. Yesterday, there was a video that came out of one of the finance minister. She's a woman who never worked in finance, by the way, but she handles the country's finance. And she was on a Zoom for the Canadian broadcaster, like the government parliamentary one, whatever. It's kind of like C-SPAN. And she sitting there without her mask on a Zoom, who cares? And freaks out and puts the mask on because she thought that they were going to be online in a sec, and then took it off to start. So she wanted people to see that she was wearing a mask. Like there's no morality. There's no principles. There's nothing. So I might sound pretty bleak here, but
yeah, let's end on a positive note, Kennedy. I mean, we gotta spice up your Twitter feed too. We need to like fluffy bunnies and sunshine, or I don't know, pictures of a flower. I don't know, something. Give us something more positive.
I will say though, positive just before we go here. I've never seen Canadians organize over almost anything. And one positive out of this is the anti-lockdown movement, as strange as it is, and there's some different types of people in it. We've never had people rally around a politician like that before. And there's a man named Randy Hillier. He's just amazing. He's a good old boy. He's just, if you could have a stereotype of the good old Canadian, it's him. He's from a farm family, a Christian guy, good guy, and a patriot. And people are rallying around him. He's getting thousands of people out of things, which has never happened here before for any reason. Wow. So that's good. I mean, if good out of evil, I'm hoping for something.
Wow. Kennedy Hall, Fatima Center. Prayerfully, we'll see some light at the end of the tunnel here. Hopefully, at least folks will be able to get to Mass on a more regular basis. That would be amazing to see up there. But we'll be praying for all of the people in Canada that the madness and confusion is done away with and civility and common sense returns once again. God bless you, Kennedy. Thank you for your time today.
Thanks. Have a good day, guys.
You too. God bless you and have a great day. All right, that is going to do it for the first hour of the program. We'll be posting both of the conversations we had with Kennedy and with Bree today as individual, standalone pieces of content on our social feeds. So if you would like to know what those are, you got to go to our website, grnonline.com/CDT. Check it out. On Monday, we're going to be talking to someone from France about what happened. There was a procession and Antifa attacked the Catholics. That'll be coming up on Monday. But in the next hour, today is our game show giveaway. We actually draw a name out. You could still win. Join us if possible. You can join us online at grnonline.com/CDT.
Thank you for joining us on Your Catholic Drive Time, where it is our pleasure to keep you informed and inspired.
Join us Monday through Friday at the same time, right here on your favorite Catholic radio station.
Don't forget to connect with us. Just go to facebook.com/Catholic Drive Time.
Again, that's facebook.com/Catholic Drive Time.
Be sure to share more than just us today. Share Jesus with everyone you meet.
Bye now, and God love you.